Not
up.
good.
Jeez, you cringy piece of garbage. Go use deodorant. Thank you. Hello.
Oh.
Okay, we're not having technical difficulties for like the first time ever.
I thought you were going to say we were having technical difficulties. I got very nervous for a second.
We are having one difficulty. Before podcast, I asked Emily Bubblegum or Cruisin', and we listened to them back to back. Bubblegum was first and Cruisin'. It's Cruisin' every time.
They're both fun.
They're both fun. But
why do you only have to listen to one KK Slider song?
You don't. We listen to both. I'm just saying.
Sorry, this chair's so hard to move. You can listen to as many as you want. Also, I have a bone to pick with you. You have a bone to pick with me about my song choice. I have a bone to pick with you.
Oh, God, here we go. Okay.
And our YouTube title,
yeah.
Concord did what? Should be a question mark because you're asking a question.
What's crazy is I got less characters in on YouTube title. I just realized because I did a mass update. But I'm going to get rid of the Concord part because
I don't think you have it. I just want you to know it's a question mark.
It didn't even put the whole title as the thing though. That's at least it's from my end.
Interesting. YouTube didn't? That's weird.
It's showing YouTube didn't, unless you're seeing the whole thing, then I don't know. Now it's changed.
Concord did what? Oh, no, you're right. It doesn't have the whole thing.
Yeah, Twitch didn't, and now I'm seeing that YouTube didn't. So, cool. Hi, YouTube. Hi, YouTube. We're also on Twitch. We do both now. So, we have quite a lot to talk about.
Starting with why the coloring of my video is so whack, Blake. Why can you not have like a normal lighting for me?
I'm sorry. Who controls your lighting? I touched it up a hair.
Camera, it looks nothing like this. You have tweaked something in the settings that has changed the contrast.
I'm so afraid to go in and show you what it looks like by default.
Chat, you're with me on this, right? It looks unnaturally dark and contrasted.
Oh God, I can't win. I guess I just have to move to Michigan, and then we can do this in person, and then yeah,
that's probably the best.
Wait, YouTube died?
Yeah. It's gone.
Like we aren't live?
We are not live. I'm mad. I'm looking at it now. We're not live.
What the? Go to the YouTube page. See if there's a. Because
it's gone. No, it's a 5 minute and 57. It's a 5 minute 57 second clip. So
that is wild.
That's so weird. Oh wait, Doc says it's live again. Sorry, I know we're not supposed to talk to chat in podcast, but like, forgive us.
I'm almost willing to change that rule to a degree because we are live. I mean, yeah, it says I see that we're live. I think when I changed the title, YouTube did not know how to handle it. YouTube really just had no clue how to handle it. That's wild. Okay, cool. Anywho,
it's fine.
What?
You didn't capitalize review, but you capitalized all the other words.
You put me in charge. You put me in charge of this. Oh my God.
It's who I am. It's my job.
Oh my God. Oh my God. This is the intro. This is just the intro. This is how it is.
We can just cut all of this. No one, when we put this on the recording on Spotify, no one has to know this happened.
Oh, I'm absolutely keeping this all in.
It can be a secret between us.
Pass. Okay. It adds to the flair. It builds character.
It builds character.
It builds character. So we introduced 2 new segments. I know one of them Emily probably didn't think of, but we're gonna talk about it anyways. First and foremost, what are we playing right now? Emily's got the easiest answer.
I'm playing Star Wars Outlaws. I've been playing Star Wars Outlaws since it came out last Friday. I've done nothing but play Star Wars Outlaws. It has been my life. It has been my dreams. It has been the food that I eat. I can't eat except for Star Wars Outlaws.
She's gonna tell you all about it, like here in like 30 minutes or so. She's gonna dive deep. Well, maybe 20. Well, we have a lot to talk about. One of those news stories. We have a lot.
I haven't even played one of them. You played 30 plus hours of this video game. You're not cutting my review in half.
No, you're not only getting. You can go as long as you want.
I'll fight you.
Oh my god.
I've lived and breathed this game for 30 plus hours of my life.
She's been texting me about it too. This is the most amount of texts I get from Emily on a normal basis, just talking to me all about Outlaws. Mind you, guys.
I have a lot of that. Blake is probably trying to cut it down because he's like, I'm so sick of hearing about this.
No. I'm not even trying to cut. We've been doing 1.5 hour episodes for like the last couple podcasts. Anywho, what I'm playing, I'm still playing Forspoken. It's a game that Square Enix published. It's not bad, but I'm not saying it's good.
You could be playing a different game.
Star Wars Outlaws?
Yeah, or a different one.
I mean, I could. I will be. In 2 days, I will be absolutely be playing a different game.
Yeah, I'll be playing a different game as well.
Will Astrobot be Podstation 64's first 10 out of 10? Unless Emily gives Star Wars Outlaws a 10 out of 10.
I won't be giving Astrobot a 10 out of 10.
Huh?
I won't be giving Astrobot a 10.
I mean, okay, I might. I don't know yet, though.
So, like, that's the hard thing, right? Like, it's hard to gauge, like, you have to set your own metric for what a 10. For what it is trying to be, it probably will be a 10 out of 10. But inherently, games that just have no story or, like, real depth or anything to them, they're fun. They're a good time, and they can be perfectly made. But they probably won't be on my list of, like...
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
You know what I mean?
I when I say the first, it doesn't mean like the collective of both of us average. It means one of us gave it a 10. I don't even know if I'm giving it a 10. I don't know. I haven't played it.
It's hard to balance like what a 10 means when you're talking about different genres, you know? Like, what is a 10? A 10 out Astrobot may be a 10 out of 10 for what it's trying to be, but is it like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, how do you compare? It's like trying to compare a like early Zelda game with like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They're so vastly different in what they're trying to achieve that it's for me hard to like.
Right, that's why they have their own individual scales. So this is going to have its own individual. If I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima, for example, and I don't have a good story, it's not going to get out of 10 out of 10. But if I'm playing Astrobot, which is made to just be a fun, short, because it's very short, fun, short platformer, we're going to get into this next week. We don't even know the game yet. We haven't even touched it. Sony, if you want to send us review copies of games, you know, that'd be sick. Just don't send me Concord.
We might need to grow slightly larger before PlayStation cares that we exist.
Okay, on that note, we will jump into our second topic. Our second segment is gaming hot takes for the week. Yeah. And I'm hoping Emily has a hot take. I'm ready for the hot take.
And I'm not going to get into it. It's going to be. I feel like my hot take this week is going to be my whole review. So
you don't even want to. Okay.
I mean, like, I guess I could have another gaming hot take. My hot take for this week. Actually, I was talking to our friend about this last night in Discord. I don't like Chloe Price in the game Life is Strange, and I sacrifice her every single time I play that game without hesitating. I despise her, and I don't care how many people tell me she's got trauma. You don't get it. I don't care. She's mean, and I don't like her.
You good?
Yeah, I don't like her. That's my thought.
Care to elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what to say other than, like, if you don't take the fall for her drugs and almost get kicked out of school, she gets mad at you. When your suicidal friend calls you asking for help and, like, to talk, she gets mad at you for having other friends. When you don't steal the handicap fund from the school, she gets mad at you. When you don't shoot a man in the face and he takes your gun from you instead, she gets mad at you, and she never lets you forget it. every chapter she will bring up everything you've ever done wrong to her in her entire life and never let you forget that you're a terrible person. And then I get the option to kill her. And I sure do, but sure do. So that's it. That's all I have to say. I don't like Chloe Price. And I'm very grateful that it appears she's not going to be in Life is Strange Double Exposure, which I will be reviewing next month, I believe.
This is my hot take. And I feel like it's going to put me in hot water, even with you. Even with, I don't know how you're going to gauge it.
Okay.
This has happened. It's happened in the past. I don't believe that live service games should be considered for Game of the Year contenders. For example, one of the best games that came out this year, I haven't played it, but I've heard great things. Helldivers 2, right? There's a point where that kind of dies. It's here for now, but there will be a point where it dies. It goes away forever. Game of the Year should be something that stands the test of time, that you can go back to and enjoy at any point. At some point, you're never... I figured you would. And most people are going to.
It is specifically Game of the Year. Not the game that will last forever. It's what was the best game that came out specifically in this year.
I mean, fair. Now, that being said, I don't think Helldivers 2 is going to win Game of the Year. I think it's going to get nominated. I don't think it's going to win. We'll get more into live service things in a moment. I think this whole Concord thing has really shifted my opinion on live service as a whole. So, let's get into the news stories then. The first one is going to be lighthearted. Because I don't think Emily knows this. It's from her favorite game series it's one of your favorites. I don't know if it's your absolute favorite of all time.
Assassin's Creed?
Okay, no, it's not your favorite of all time.
Zelda?
Yes, it's Zelda. So, there were images of the Nintendo Museum that came out.
Yeah.
And they showed the Zelda timeline again.
Yeah, but Tears of the Kingdom... Was this about how Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild are their own?
Yes, they are not in the timeline. They are their own rebooted timeline.
They are, because it doesn't make any sense, because... whatever. No, we're not doing this right now. I can't talk about this all the timeline. We have too much to get through for me to talk about why that's so stupid and reopen the conversation about why Tears of the Kingdom was mid and how it would have been so much better if they had just utilized the lore they already created. Actually, now that we're talking about this, I am going to reference a tweet I retweeted the other day, or whatever you call it on X now, whatever.
We're not going to get into it. I'm going to reference this tweet. No, Joe, go ahead.
No, I am. Why doesn't this work?
Oh my God. I think it honestly could stay on the timeline, but it also makes sense off the timeline. Even though the timeline was created with no foresight, they didn't intend to ever have a timeline. I don't think they intended to have more than 2 Zelda games.
Okay, hold on. I'm finding. Okay, here it is. I literally, 2 days ago, retweeted this. It will never not be strange to me how they make up entire new myths and characters and races and lore for Zelda games and then just abandon them entirely with whatever they do next. Wow, they put so much effort into the zone. I can't wait to never hear from them ever again.
I think you
I disagree, because I don't think they put effort into the Zonai whatsoever. But yeah, we'll never hear from them again.
Emily really doesn't like Tears of the Kingdom. She's in the minority.
I don't think they put. I think they put 150% effort into the mechanics of building, and I think they put 5% effort into the lore and the story and building that out.
I give them 50%. I give them 50%. I won't say 5, but I give them 50. I give them 50%.
Okay. We can't talk about music anymore. We can't. We must move on.
We will be in a future podcast relatively soon. There's gonna be a bloodbath, dude. There's gonna be a bloodbath in that one, I feel.
Yeah.
Okay. Totally. Now the biggest story, and this is gonna take up a chunk of time. On October. I
don't know how neither one of us has played this video game.
Yeah, but it's the implications. Like,
Okay.
yeah, it's not about the game itself. It's not about how it was developed, but it's the implications and everything. Like, why did it fail? Let's jump into what it is. So, August 23rd, Concord releases. No, but I don't think I even heard about it until that like May or June state of play. Like, and then they dropped that trailer, and I thought,
I didn't remember it. You guys were telling me about this the other day, and I was like, I have no idea what game that is. And you're just like, remember it? It's like the
Guardians-
Marvel knockoff or Guardians of the Galaxy
Yeah.
knockoff, and I still had no memory of it.
and from my understanding, because I didn't look farther into it, hero shooters aren't my thing. But from what I understood, it looked like it looked like the Guardians of the Galaxy Overwatch knockoff we have at home. It was a weird mashup, and I thought Sony was diving into a free-to-play like style, like Overwatch 2, like a Destiny 2, like a Fortnite, whatever, to be live service that way and make money through microtransactions. I think them not doing that was their downfall. So this game was developed by their internal studio, Firewatch, and yesterday they released a blog post essentially saying, "Hey, on Friday, which will be 2 weeks since the game launched. We're pulling the plug," with no explanation of if it's temporary, is it ever coming back, are people playing it? The main reason. From what I'm seeing, because people who played it said it was fine. They didn't. No one really thought it was bad, but they thought it was fine. The reason they think it flopped is because it didn't really introduce anything new that Overwatch and Valorant and all them other hero shooters already have. It wasn't free to play like those games. You had to pay $40 in. Granted, it was not riddled with microtransactions. Like, it was going to be free updates for a while before they started putting in microtransactions. But you know, people are going to would rather play a free game and just be annoyed with microtransactions than pay $40 for a game, and you know, get free updates. Like, I'm not going to pay $40 for this game that I know nothing about, that it was just told me about.
No.
To
be fair, just to be devil's
be
advocate for a moment, we do specifically reference the downfall of Fall Guys as it fell because it got free updates and like went to microtransactions.
Oh, absolutely. But I feel like that was the reason it was paid at first, because it was an indie developer, and then it was bought out by a big company that ruined it.
But we still preferred what it was originally over what it is now.
Oh, absolutely. This is not why we wouldn't go in, but this is a reason people are speculating it failed. And I understand that one. And the last thing, I don't know I've never played Overwatch and I've never played Valorant, but from what I understand from those hero shooters, like, even though it is just like online matches all the time, there is an expansive like lore to it, and each of the character has their own storylines. Overwatch released videos, I think it was either weekly or monthly, updates on like character storylines of people you're playing and just trying to understand them and why you should care about these people. Concord, no one is like, I don't care about this world. I don't care about these people, and you're not giving me a reason to. It's just kind of bland. It's like, I already have Overwatch and I can play that for free, so I'm just going to do that instead. Which, valid.
Yeah, but I don't know. Most video games don't release a list of all the characters and like videos on them.
Hero shooters is more common because you're not really I think there were some videos in the game. Overwatch did it. This is why Overwatch did so well and won Game of the Year 2016, is because there was this extensive lore behind it. It wasn't just this online hero shooter. Like, there was a lot more depth to it. This is also coming from the guy who's never played Overwatch, and I probably never will.
Such a hard time with this conversation because we haven't played Overwatch and we haven't played Concord.
But I know people who have, and I know people who love it. This is mostly speculation. Here's my thing. I know Sony's specialty, we already know right off the bat. Sony's specialty is single player, narrative driven, big, beautiful games. You got Ghost of Tsushima as your prime example. You got God of War. You got The Last of Us. They know what they're doing in those areas. We also know from earlier this year, they also know how to do live service, because they released Helldivers 2. Now, they fumbled the bag later on with it, and people are still mad about it when they did this whole, like, you have to have a PSN account on Steam, and if you can't get a PSN in your country, you just can't play it anymore, which is ridiculous. Other than that, we know they can make a good live service game. So I don't know what it was specifically about this one that they're like, we don't care about any of this. But Helldivers 2, they absolutely ate up. I don't know. I think it's just an interesting thing as a whole. I don't know what's going to happen.
It's sad. It's insane that a game can be killed that quickly. I will say, in terms of like respect to PlayStation, at least they're offering who bought it. It's not like they're saying we're turning it off. You paid for it, too bad. They are giving the refunds for it. You know, I guess this to me is kind of like a wait and see game. Like, are they going to bring it back as free to play? Are they going to do anything with it? Or is it truly just dead in the ground? And that's something we'll have to wait to find out and see what it ends up being. If not, it's just going to be a massive loss for PlayStation in terms of revenue. And also just really harm their reputation with people who want to play live service games from PlayStation, because they're going to be wondering now, am I going to get excited for this game? And then if enough people don't buy it, they're just going to turn it off. Or at the same time, like, what else? What do you do with a game that's a live service game that only has a max of 300 people online? Like, what do you can you justify the cost? The thing is, like, if you're looking at it from Sony's point of view, they've already, you just said they spent 8 years making this game. Mm-hmm. They sunk however millions of dollars or whatever into making the game.
Hundreds of millions,
And now you're saying that there's a maximum of 300 people playing it.
700, but yes.
700, sorry. They made pretty much no money off of sales. And so I think probably they're looking at it and they're saying, why are we going to waste more money keeping these servers live and maintaining these servers and the security and everything that goes with it when we're clearly not going to generate any sort of profit from it?
See, I think it's interesting that they didn't at least even wait till the end of season 1, because live service games usually have seasons. So that would have been what, 2 months, 3 months maybe, and then called it. I think it's interesting they did it in 2 weeks, but I actually agree and understand where you're coming from with that. I don't think Concord's dead forever. I don't think it's gone forever. I think it will come back.
They put too much money into it for that. I think it will come back in some way or another, but I also think you said they could have given it more time. I think that's worse, quite honestly. If they already know it's performing terribly and they're not really dedicated to keeping it live, I'd hate for more people to go out and buy it and then have to go through the process of getting the refund. Like, I'd rather they just cut it off at the legs or the knees or whatever, and then be like, let's bring it back in a different way.
Speaking of refunds, I think it's interesting. This is how I found out that you could buy Concord physically, which live service games are the only area where I'm like, why would you buy that physically? It's just not going to work at some point. So that's the only area where I have like okay, I understand why you shouldn't. If anybody bought it physically and still has not opened their copy of it, do not go return it. Keep it sealed. Because eventually, like, that's one of those things that over time is going to be worth way more than you expect. Like, shockingly, it's going to be worth shocking amounts of money sealed and not touched. That being said, it's still, like, why do they release a physical copy? That'd cost them more money.
And if it doesn't end up being worth more money than you paid for it, Blake is offering to refund you.
Pass. Like, oh my god. Now I low key. Oh, they're still selling it on Amazon. Oh, temporarily out of stock. No, they're not.
That's crazy. They can't be still selling it on Amazon. Oh, you're offering refunds. That'd be deranged.
That's so insane, dude. Oh my god. Last thing I'll say on this, and this is just something I find funny. I'm in those 2 PlayStation trophy groups on Facebook. You already know I added you to one of them. People are right now scrambling while the servers are on to get the platinum as fast as they can before they go offline. And I think it's funny.
I saw like one of that. Wasn't one of like the fastest ways to increase your experience was to kill yourself?
Yes, multiple times. And I'm like, go get that crown, King. If you want to put up with that,
you do what you need to do, bud.
It literally will probably be the rarest platinum ever.
Possibly, yeah. Nobody else is gonna get it.
A max of 700 people can get it. Sorry.
They're special.
On that note, Emily has been playing a lot about a franchise she knows very little about, and has had a cat dog thing that she loves more than she loves anything in this entire world.
His name is Nix. Put some respect for his name in your mouth.
Oh,
it's not a cat dog thing. His name is Nyx. Thank you.
Okay, what kind of creature is he though?
I have no clue.
I went. I mean, the Concord thing made this easy because I had a lot to say. Then this is an area where I'm gonna have like nothing to say at all. So I'm gonna pull the ask dumb questions, like Emily did.
Ask no questions.
Huh?
You're gonna ask questions. We're gonna talk about it. I have a lot to say.
I'm gonna ask very stupid questions.
Starting with,
here we go.
If chat will allow me, and you Blake will allow me to get on my soapbox for a minute. I would just like to preface this review by.
I want to pause. Is this what I've already heard?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been really
I'm gonna mentally turn off for a second. No, okay, go on.
Let me get on my soapbox for a minute and express my frustration. Y'all, the gaming industry has been way too dang negative lately. You cannot like video games, that's great. You don't have to buy video games, that's great. But I feel like every video game is rooted to fail before it even comes out. I'm not talking about Star Wars. Like, I was mentioning this to Blake before stream started. When the first Veilguard trailer dropped, people were like, it looks stupid, it's terrible, they ruined Dragon Age. And then it took like 3 more trailers for them to be like, oh, I guess it looks okay, maybe I'll buy it.
You mentioned that on this podcast, not before.
I thought we talked about this before podcast. We talked about it in Discord before you started.
No, you brought this up like just now. Oh, she's frozen.
Am I here? Hi.
Yeah, she's back. We got her back. Kinda.
We mentioned that before you started stream.
No, it was during stream.
Okay. Well,
Chat, pull the clip. No, I'm just kidding. All right, go on.
Anyway, point being, calm down, guys. They're just video games. If one is like, if we're at like a cyberpunk level where a game is just ruined, like unplayable mess, or we're like facing real controversy on like real world issues, like homophobia, race issues, like sure, that's great. We can shit on a game all we want, but like just being like, it's not my type of game, or Ubisoft games. Let's move on with your life. Find something else to do. Don't exist. I played this game, and guys, I cannot even kid you. I've had a couple people text me about it and be like, what's it like? How does it play? Is it worth buying? And I've had several people tell me that if I don't review it the way they think I should, they'll unsubscribe from our podcast.
Who said that?
What?
Who do I know these people who said that?
Yeah, you do. I'm amazed right now. So just like people like, you know, I've got a lot of crap for even just simply playing the game. So I'm very toasty going into it because you'll find out pretty quickly I really liked this game. But also something I want to preface before we go into the review, like Blake mentioned, I'm not a Star Wars fan. I did not play this because it was Star Wars. I played it because it looked neat. I have working knowledge of Star Wars. I've seen 2 movies. That's it. So what review comes from this is not because A, it's a Star Wars game and I love Star Wars and I want it to be great, whether it is or not, or B, I'm gonna review it worse because it wasn't Star Wars enough, or it didn't live up to what I think Star Wars should be. There's not gonna be we're not gonna talk about the lore of Star Wars, we're not gonna talk about the timeline, we're not gonna talk about the Siths and the Jedi and whoever else is involved because I don't understand it and I can't speak to it. So if you thought this review was going to be Emily talking about where this fits in the Star Wars timeline and if it's canon or not, and if Rey is in it, then I can't help you. But we're just gonna talk about.
Why would Rey be in it?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know anything. Okay, well, to be fair, I know that this takes place after the Death Star exploded, but before the Empire is destroyed.
Okay, so this is episode 5-ish. Was it 5 or 6?
Sure. No, man. They started the video game by referencing the blowing up of the Death Star. So that's the only reason I knew. And they're still Imperial, like the Empire is still everywhere. They're still watching everything. So they haven't gone yet. I've seen Jabba the Hutt. I have not seen Darth Vader. I guess that's something to know going into it if you're watching this review because you're trying to decide whether or not to buy the game. If you're a Star Wars fan, if you're doing it because you really like Star Wars, I think you'll get Star Wars out of it. the feel of the game, the environments, even like the sound effects. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and we agreed that they must have like licensed sound effects they use, because like the pew pew of the blasters and the sounds that all the droids make and whatnot. It's the exact same sound from all the movies. So I think you'll feel the Star Warsness of it. But if you are expecting our main character to become a Resistance member and pick up a lightsaber because she's special and she gets a lightsaber and go kill Darth Vader, I have news for you. That's not what's going to happen. I have yet to see a single lightsaber 30 plus hours into this game, which has been a bonus for me because I don't care about that. But it might not be free.
Lightsabers are cool whether you're into Star Wars or not. You gotta admit.
Oh, lightsabers are really cool.
Yeah.
Lightsabers are cool. I'm not arguing lightsabers aren't cool. I'm arguing I did not want this to be a game about the Sith and the Empire and the Resistance and all of that.
Fair.
I like what it is. I
Valid.
like how it is. So anyway, now that we're done talking about what it's not, let's talk about what it is. And I want to start by talking. I'll give a brief overview of what the game is and how it plays.
Because you haven't beat it yet, right?
I have not beaten the game yet. No.
Okay.
I would say I'm probably 70% of the way through the story.
Okay. Cool.
If I had to guess, I'll be honest, I thought about speedrunning the story to have it beat by the time this review came out, so I could give you guys more concise opinions.
Don't do that.
Quite frankly, I've been having too much fun with it to speed through it and get it done, because I'm just really enjoying it, and I want to continue enjoying it at the pace and having time to explore and get better items and whatnot. So anyway, the Star Wars Outlaws focuses on one main character, which I think a lot of people even now didn't realize. It's not like a self-insert character. It's not a Baldur's Gate. It's not a Dragon Age. You are not naming your character something and customizing your character in the background. It is a set character named K-Vess. You can't custom. I mean, you can get her new clothes on, but and K-Vess, our main character, is living in the slums of Canto Blight, and she's been raised pretty much a petty thief with her mom, pulling off small jobs to make ends meet with her little buddy Nyx. And if you haven't seen Nyx, please look up a photo of him, guys. He's adorable. He's my life. I love him very dearly.
I'm telling Bean.
I'm sorry. I love my real life cat and dog. Nyx is my virtual baby. I love Nyx. There's one quest where Nyx gets kidnapped, and I literally lost my mind while I was playing this game. I was so
She
furious.
texts me like, back to back to back.
The main character's like crying about it, and I was crying, and I was like, we're gonna get him back, don't worry. Anyway, Kay, like I said, has grown up a petty thief in the slums of this one planet, and her dream is to essentially get a really big job where she makes a huge amount of money and she can afford to get to one of the core worlds and basically live her life in peace, etc. And in an effort to do that, she accepts a job breaking into the home of one of the largest crime syndicates, where the boss of that large crime syndicate lives. They were going to break into his vault, get a bunch of money. She was going to be great. Well, the job goes sideways, and she ends up on a different planet with no money. Her ship's broken, and she has a death mark on her back. Essentially, she has a bounty for her head out. And so the game follows as Kay tries to make new contacts, accept jobs to try to get money. She has to balance the syndicate. So there's 4 different crime syndicates that you accept jobs with and try to get in good with them. But often those can be at odds with one another. Accepting a job for one crime syndicate might ruin your reputation with another. She's going to make new partners. I wouldn't really call them friends. I think they're growing to be friends, but K-Vess is very much I have learned she can't trust other people. She is on her own, just her and Nyx. Even I mentioned that this is not going to be a story where she turns into a Resistance member and goes and kills Darth Vader. And while there's a chance that could happen at the end of the game that I have not reached yet, Kay has been very outspoken throughout the whole game about, I'm not interested in the Resistance. I don't really care about the Resistance. Like, what does that do for me? So yeah, that's the whole plot of the game. Is there's multiple planets you go to. You're accepting jobs. You're trying to make money. You're trying to get the death mark off of Kay. She's got her buddy Nick. She's got a android friend named ND5. Or friend. He's kind of a babysitter. But it's a lot of fun. It's a great time. to start with what it does right, and I think the biggest thing that it does so successfully, and Blake is going to say this is another Emily thing, it's beautiful. It simply is. And there's a couple moments where like the lighting might be a little weird or off or something like that, but I would say for the most part, it is just so freaking pretty. The worlds aren't like, there's been so many times I've stopped and like gone into photo mode and taken pictures because the landscape that I'm looking at looks like concept art. It doesn't even look like a real video game. It just looks like art. It's so pretty. I've been sending all these photos I've been taking to Blake and being like, look at how pretty the game is. Please look at it. It's so beautiful. So I think that is just a huge bonus right out of the gate. The worlds are all so fleshed out. They all look beautiful. They're all and it makes them so much fun to explore. It's so interesting to traverse the world and travel it and see what you can find. And even just, walking around in the worlds, like walking around in the towns, it's so nice. It's such a good and beautiful and well-built world that they've created. It really truly reminds me, it gives me a very much a Ghost of Tsushima feel. Like this very, maybe not huge world, but very beautiful, it feels very lived in, like there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of NPCs, it's not just kind of empty and sad. They are really fleshed out worlds. So huge kudos to the team for that, because even if you're not a fan of the gameplay, I don't think anyone can deny how beautifully they have built these worlds. And as someone who's not even into Star Wars herself, I was having so much fun with all the different creatures you can find, all the different types of species. You can go to several different types of worlds. Even like the characters, and I know this is a Star Wars thing, you're gonna be like, this isn't special, they do this in all the Star Wars things, but there's so many different languages even. And while they'll translate them into text for you, they don't force everyone to be like speaking English for the ease of the player. And I really enjoy that as well. So it's great. That I think that's the biggest thing it does right. I think it does a lot right, but that one I think is the most astounding one. It's so beautiful. Oh, did I freeze?
You're back.
Okay, cool. Yes. That's the biggest one. Number one, if you are looking for a fun game, you just want to go around and find treasures and explore, pick up Outlaws because it's great. I would describe when I was playing it, it felt like I was playing a Mass Effect game, but like in a Star Wars universe. I don't know. It did give me those Mass Effect vibes, but in a very good way. I will say it doesn't have like companions. You don't get companions. There's no romance in it. So if you thought you were gonna have like companions that you can give gifts to or like build trust with or whatnot, it's not that type of game.
I think I don't even think that was one of the games I would expect it to be like that. Because
Mass Effect?
No. Star Wars Outlaws. Like seeing it, I don't think it ever crossed my mind of like, oh, what companions am I gonna get? Who's gonna travel with me? Blah blah blah. I don't think that's one of the things that ever crossed my mind for that game. With a game like Baldur's Gate or Mass Effect, that does cross my mind on how they described it. Outlaws, it never really like hit that's what it was supposed to be. So if anyone thinks that, I think that's a little odd, but that's just me. That's it.
Oh, it's a game you would expect to have companions in, but I will say one of the overarching plot points is that you are getting a like squad together to pull off a massive job. And so I think there could be some belief that like those people that you're recruiting and bringing in are going to be like companion type characters.
Right.
Or that you're slowly going to build a crew for your ship. Even if they're not like actual companions who come out and fight with you, you'll have like this crew on your ship that you can talk to or like whatever. You're really not going to have that. You'll have a few like key characters, but for the most part, I would still call them partners or like contacts or things like that. There's only Nyx really. And then I think ND5 droid is really starting to enjoy Big Round K, and they're slowly becoming friends. And so sorry, somebody in chat just said ND5 was their romance option. Blake, what did I tell you yesterday?
She said that's the only person she'd ever be interested. Sorry, the only robot that's for her. She officially is into robots now, specifically ND5.
I said he would be my husband if I could. I said this game won't let me romance anyone, but I just need you guys to know ND5 is my husband. That being said, though, despite the fact that there's no companions, like official companions or anything like that, the dialogue between you and your contacts or between you and your partners, even like when I'm just like on my speeder traversing the world, if my character finds something interesting, she'll radio in to ND5 and be like, hey, ND5, I found this thing. And, you know, they'll have like quick conversations. And those are even just so funny and charming. The dialogue is another. I mean, I think the writing is great. The story, like I mentioned, I'm not done with the story yet, so I can't give it an official like it's so good because I mean it could fall apart. But I would say I'm 70% of the way done. And the story's really good. It has kept me locked in at all times. The characters have been interesting. I'm really enjoying it, and like I said, the last big main story mission I did was Nyx being kidnapped, and I was ready to burn the world. You have to, spoiler alert, Nyx gets kidnapped. You have to break into Jabba's palace to steal Nyx back. You end up meeting up with this bounty hunter named Vale, who's been hunting you down because, as I mentioned earlier, you have a death mark on you. And you and Vale have to fight, excuse me, Star Wars fans, if I pronounce this perhaps slightly incorrectly, a Rancor to escape the palace.
Yeah, you said that about right.
Okay, cool. You end up being basically kind of enslaved to Jabba for a bit to make up for it. It was just such a good story moment where you and this bounty hunter who have been at odds are now having to work together. You're getting back like your one person in life who maybe is Nyx and not, you know, an actual person who's been good to you. It's really like your character as they're running, Nyx gets kidnapped, and as they're running and, you know, radioing ND5 and saying Nyx is gone, he's been kidnapped. She's like on the verge of tears. First of all, okay, side note, quickly, I know this has not been the most cohesive review. The voice actress for Kay, all the voice actors are good, but Kay specifically is incredible. The amount of like emotion in her voice when she speaks, she's doing an amazing job. Props to that actress. I know she's gotten a lot of hate online, or people have been like in defense of her because they think they did her really dirty with the character model, and she's come in defense of the character model, saying it was never supposed to look like her. She just, you know, she brought the character to life, and she's gotten a lot of shit for that too. She does an incredible job when she's running in that scene. She's like on the verge of tears. Her voice is just so. I was ready to cry. I was upset for her, that feeling. And I think if any of you have ever had a pet, you're like, if you touch my pet and I'll kill you. So yeah, the story's great. It's well fleshed out. I can't wait to see where it goes next. It's been a long time since I have played a single player narrative game that has a set character and a set story where you can't. I mean, there's small choices you can make, but like you can't pick your own character, you can't pick your own story, and it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to just see what this crafted story for you is going to turn out to be. And I think those usually end up being a little more fleshed out and a little bit better done.
I think I'm trying to think the last one you played. You played Ghost of Tsushima, Persona 5. You played those both in 2020.
Hey, Ghost of Tsushima, like I said earlier, if you weren't here for, I would compare this to a Ghost of Tsushima game. I think the vibes of the game are, I mean, obviously one is in space and one is in feudal Japan, but I think if you're trying to think of the closest gameplay style, I think this is very on par for how Ghost of Tsushima plays, where you can do stealth, but then you can also go in with a blaster. You laugh, but I'm very serious.
I'm laughing at the specific comment of, yeah, but one's in space and one's in feudal Japan. It was just so nonsense. The way you said it was very funny.
Coatings of paint on the games are different, but I think the feel of the games, like how beautiful and fleshed out the worlds are, how like great the story is, the well-built characters, and even like I said, the gameplay style of it has those stunts, those like sneak into here and get these treasures, or like get out and do this, or like going straight in with a gun, or like your sword and fighting. I think you'll find there's even like a thing similar to in Ghost of Tsushima where you can like lock onto 5 at once and take them all out, like Jin can do in that. So I think they're very equivalent games. I think if you enjoyed Ghost of Tsushima, you'll really enjoy Outlaws. What else? What else do I want to talk about?
Yeah, we got to talk about negatives at some point, because there's got to be some negatives.
I'll get on that.
Oh, yeah, I'll get on that. Sorry.
I'll get there. I'll get there eventually. I want to talk about the side quests and like the treasure finding. This may be a turnoff for some people. For me personally, this was a really big bonus. There is a lot to do. There's a lot of side quests, a lot of little missions, there's a lot of treasures to find, but everyone feels developed with intentionality and with purpose. I don't feel like I'm going and collecting items that have no use just for the sake of selling them. Or I think I mentioned this when we reviewed Tears of the Kingdom, that it was really frustrating for me when I feel like I found something really exciting or I've discovered a new place and I'm like, oh, there's gonna be something really good in here. And it's like a sword handle for me to attach something to. Where I'm like finding things and getting really excited about the sense of exploration, but I don't feel that like what I'm getting out of it is worth what I put into it, or it's not very exciting. This has a great amount to find, but not so much that it's overwhelming. I've also played games like the recent Assassin's Creed games, Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, where the worlds are huge and they're full of things to do, but those are the same 3 freaking things that you can do. And there's a million of them in every single section of the game where it just feels so tedious and annoying. This does not feel that way. So you can feel free to skip stuff, but like if you break into an Imperial compound because there's 5 treasures in it, you're gonna walk out with a lot of money. You're gonna probably walk out with better equipment. You're gonna walk out with good parts to upgrade your blaster. It's always gonna be really worth it. And I think that's just really nice. It's really refreshing to have that good balance of feeling like there's a lot to do, but when you do something, you know it's going to be worth it. There's been a lot of times where I have been trying to sneak in someplace and get the treasures, and I've been failing over and over again. And I'm like, forget it. Like, let's just leave. And I'm like, no, because I know one of those treasures, or like a multiple of them, is going to be really good. I know there's going to be something I really want there, and there always has been. So I think that's another bonus. Talking about negatives, we're gonna go to there. Guys, I gotta admit, I don't have many. If I could name a few. I had the game crash on me last night for the first time.
I can't call that a negative though, because that's just kind of, it just happens. It's one of those things that happens. Yeah.
I've heard some people mention, but I have had 1 or 2 bugs. But they've been like very few and far in between, and they haven't been significant bugs. Like the first clear bug I encountered was when I killed a soldier and he fell on like a console, like a computer console, when he died, and then I left and died myself. And when I respawned back into the area he was in, obviously he had come back to life because I had died, but he was standing on top of the computer console where his body had been left originally. So obviously when he respawned himself, he respawned on top of the computer console. So a couple like little things like that. Nothing that's like breaking the game or like, hey, I can't complete this mission because it's bugged or anything. It's just like, oh, hey buddy, you weren't supposed to respawn right there. You were supposed to respawn like 2 inches, back this way. And yeah, like I said, I did have my first game crash last night, and otherwise like it's been running really well. I think a lot of people have had issues with the stealth system. They feel like it's too hard. But I will say there are different modes for the game. There is a story mode, and actually there's different difficulty settings in terms of gameplay and in terms of so if you break into an Imperial compound or like you do anything with the Imperial army, this is kind of going to be a bonus as well. You can get to a wanted level, essentially, like, and they always call it through your controller. If you're playing on PlayStation, that will come through your controller, or they'll send out like a galaxy-wide alert, like, we're looking for this fugitive. Her name is Kves. We last saw her on this planet. And you can change the difficulty levels with that as well. You can change it where you can lose that wanted status easier, or it's less impactful. So there's different difficulty settings for different aspects of the game, which I think is really interesting. I don't know if I've ever seen a game do that, where you can have like a hard gameplay setting and then for something else have an easy setting.
Baldur's Gate 3 does do it. It's a little bit more detailed, and it's a lot of things you wouldn't think about, and I don't think anyone really uses it, but they do have it to where it's like, oh, combat's easier, but checks are harder, like as an example. Like, survival checks and all that. Yeah.
I think that's an interesting way to do it, because not everybody enjoys the combat aspect, but you might like the difficulties in other areas.
Right. So it's not the first, but it is a relatively new concept, I would say.
Yeah, and I other games continue to do it because I think it's fun. But on that topic, this was something else I want to mention too, where I mentioned you can get the wanted level and they'll come through like on your controller and let you know. I think this was also something that was really well done, because you can break into Imperial compounds. There's also like bases and whatnot. There's a lot of different Imperial stuff that you can break into. And if you get caught, there's different levels to it. So the first is you get caught and you can fight some people and then you can continue sneaking. Another is the alarm goes off. And then the whole compound is alerted that you're there, and they're all going to be looking for you. If that continues higher, an alert will be sent out to the galaxy-wide or the planet-wide and be like, hey, we're looking for you. You have to help us find her. And I kind of thought, when this happened to me, that I would do the video game thing, and I would just go somewhere else, and they would forget I existed, and I'd be fine and move on with my life.
Nope.
At one point, I was in space, and I was like, if I just land on the planet, they'll forget about me. Like Assassin's Creed, if I went in the water, they forgot about me. Like obviously, if I go to a completely different planet, I'll be fine. And so I landed my spaceship on this planet, and the moment I landed and started playing again, it came over my controller where it was like, Kves has landed in like hangar port 13 on this planet. Imperial soldiers, be aware of that. And she's headed for this city, which I was. And I was like, oh shit, they caught me. So now where I am. I couldn't like cheat my way out of this, and so like I was nervous to go to the city because there were Imperial soldiers everywhere. And eventually, like 2 minutes later, they called off the search, so it didn't last very long. I still think I kind of got away with it, but
Right.
I really appreciated that. But like, no matter like if you fast travel somewhere or if you jump to a different planet or whatever, you can't just like escape it like that. They're still gonna follow you and know where you've gone. So I think that was a really nice touch. It felt like a nice detail to put in there. Also, if you get to a wanted level of a certain caliber, they will send out death troopers, which I didn't know those existed before this game.
They're the black suit troopers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a situation today where they came after me, and I killed 3 of them in a row, you guys, and I felt so powerful. But yeah, so on negatives, there's a couple bugs. I had a crash.
Once again, I can't call that negatives though. I would, when I think negatives, I think more like I wish this aspect of the game could be better, right? Or I wish they did this differently. You know,
say maybe one negative. It's a very slight negative. The first planet you land on, which is like after everything with this job goes wrong, and this is like where after you get out of the prologue, where the game really starts to pick up. There's a lot to do. So I was there for the first like 15 hours of the game. Just because, and not even because I felt like I was stuck there, because I'd be like, oh, I'll leave after I do this one thing. And then I was like, oh no, but there's a treasure right over here. I'll go get the treasure. And then I get the treasure and I'm like, oh, right over here I could do really quickly, you know, and you end up being there. It kind of has that Breath of the Wild feel where like you see something in the distance you want to go explore and then you find like 5 things on the way there.
Yes.
And so the story doesn't like really fully progress. You don't get to like the main chunk of it until you leave that first world. So because I had been there for so long, I didn't progress the story for a while. And she kept saying things like, oh, after this one job, we'll make it big, Nyx, I promise. And I was kind of like, is this going to be like your thing the whole game? Like you're just going to keep parroting this at me that you're going to make a job and get rich and then you're going to retire? Like, so it kind of felt a little repetitive, but I realized I just hadn't progressed far enough in the story. So I don't know if I can really call that a negative, because that was more on me just refusing to leave the world. Another positive that I hadn't mentioned yet, the skill system is different in this game. And I think it's a nice difference. There's actually no experience points at all. There's no levels, there's no experience points. So instead of a system where you go to Imperial Compound or you do a side quest and you get, hey, here's 500 experience points, buy some skills with them. You actually make contacts. So for example, you'll make a contact who's really good at fixing your speeder, or you'll make a contact who can help you with your gun. There's another who can help you with your stuff, the one who can help me with like your social stuff. So like convincing enemies not to harm you, things like that. And you have to befriend these contacts, and then you have to hit certain criteria to get the skill. So for example, there's one skill where Nyx, if you meet the criteria, you can get Nyx to do more, because Nyx is a very helpful partner in your stuff. He can distract enemies for you. He can open doors for you. He can grab items for you and bring them back to you. He can steal from people. So you can upgrade his skills as well throughout the game. And so for example, if you want to get Nyx to be able to do this specific thing, well, you have to train Nyx then, right? Like, so you have to use Nyx a certain amount of times in combat. And if you fulfill those requirements, then yeah, you're going to upgrade and get that skill. And I liked that. More like I was actually doing the training for the thing I was trying to get, instead of just arbitrarily picking out skills that I thought were interesting based on like the skill points I had received. I had to like participate in the game's systems and what I wanted to be able to get out of it. So I like that. I thought it was an interesting change to the standard traditional skill system. I really like that there's not a level system. I really enjoy that. You didn't have to be like, oh, I can't go there yet. I'm not a high enough level, or I can't do this. I'm not a high enough level. I liked it. So yeah, honestly, guys, I've been talking a lot. Thank you, Blake, for being patient to listen to me talk about this game.
We're not done yet, because it's my turn for a question. One specific question. I got one singular question.
Yeah.
Space exploration.
Oh, you know what? That's a really good point. That is a good
I didn't even
point.
have to ask the question. She knew exactly where I was going. Are we talking a Kingdom Hearts or a Starfield?
Well, so I didn't play Starfield, so I can't really tell you where it's at. You do have free exploration of space, so each different world has a different space area, obviously. So there's like, you can freely fly through space, and you can freely fly to planets. There's still like, when you get to a planet and you reach the planet, you still have to do like an initiate landing thing to land on the planet. So you can't just like fly into the atmosphere on your own. But it's pretty smooth. And you can like fast travel and whatnot. There's a lot of missions in space, like specifically like the syndicates will tell you that there's a piece of cargo that they need from a satellite or something like that. And then there's probably some like pirates. That's another thing, is there's like pirates and thieves like both in the planets and in space who will like see you get cargo and then like try to pick a fight with you to get it. So you can freely fly your spaceship. You can decorate, you can change the exterior of your spaceship, you can change the exterior of your speeder, and add bonuses to them. You can fly them all around, you can do missions with them, you can fight with them. There's lots of things to explore and find. You can fly from planet to planet. No, sorry, saying you can fly planet from planet feels a little disingenuous. You can fly to the planets, but if you want to enter a different system, then you do have to like back out and like go to the system. You can't like fly from one system. Oh no, sorry, you can go into hyperspeed.
Yeah,
there's like a hyperspeed button you can click, and then you have to like punch it. You have to like press both the buttons at the same time, and then you're like, woo, we're going.
That one I understand more, and this is coming from I'll give Starfield like the pass there, because to go to different systems you have to do the same. That's just more like how space works.
Yeah.
But when it comes to being in the same system, as long as like if you're in the same system and there's two planets there and you're going from one of those planets to another one of those planets, as long as you can do that, then it's already past Starfield level. Like it's already been.
Yeah, you can do that. You can fly around. There's like satellites you can go to. I don't know. I can't really think of one where there's two planets in the same system. But you can freely fly around. So you leave the planet and then you can do whatever you want. I will say I don't care for the flying in the space system. I think that's a me thing. I don't think it's a bad system. I just don't enjoy it as much. I'm really bad at the space combat, guys. I'm really bad at it. Like, the ship controls they feel like how you would feel flying a spaceship. Like, you can do all like the flips and the turns and like move it any which way you want it.
Do a barrel roll.
You can, like, and I've done that. Like, you can, like, I don't know how to describe this accurately. You can flip your ship completely upside down and your like vision will change with it. And so sometimes you get so twisted, like, wait, which way is technically up and which way is technically down? And, like, I've gotten a little motion sick a couple of times. And the game will autocorrect you after, like, if you flip upside down and you stay there for, like, 10 seconds, it will flip the camera back to let you know you've been upside down. But that really matters in space. But other people might really enjoy it. I don't personally care for that kind of thing. I didn't care for it in Kingdom Hearts. I didn't care for it in Mass Effect.
Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 3 gets the pass because it's got the best gummy ships, but I digress.
That's the thing. I don't even remember Kingdom Hearts 3. Oh, yeah, I do. They were fine. I liked finding the constellations and stuff, but it's not something I really vibe with. So I have kind of avoided it. I've done it when I needed to do syndicate things, but I didn't do much with it. Oh, also speaking of syndicates, if you're thinking of playing this game, like I mentioned, there's 4 crime syndicates.
Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
I
Sorry.
wish. I wish Evie and Jacob popped into this game. Doesn't make sense with the timeline of it all, but hey. There's 4 crime syndicates. You can get in good with all of them at one point or another, but when you start off the game, 2 major ones, Crimson Dawn and the Pikes, and you're really going to have to make choices about which one you want to side with, because typically they're fighting each other. So you're going to kind of have to make a choice about which one you're going to. So this is the thing. Every time you get like a quest for a syndicate, or you get a job or a contract, or even sometimes in the main quests, let's say someone from Crimson Dawn will come up to you and say like, hey, we want to like screw over the Pikes. Will you go to the Imperial compound, sneak in, and delete all of the Pikes' debts? And then the Imperial army will think they did it, and like they'll get in real trouble with like the galaxy and whatnot. And so you go through the whole quest, and you get to the end where you're deleting it, and you can like make the choice to actually delete the Crimson Dawn's data and frame them instead, and like side with the Pikes. You know, like you can basically betray everyone always. Syndicates will reach out to you with better offers to be like, hey, we know this syndicate paid you to do this. We'll give you more money. And we'll like give you this extra thing. But like you'll lose reputation with them, but like you'll gain some with us. So it's kind of a numbers game of figuring out which choice is better for you in the long run too. And those come with bonuses as well. Each syndicate has their own territory in the worlds. So if you're in good with the syndicate, you can walk into their territory freely. You can get deals from merchants. They'll give you gifts as well. For example, when you max out with the Pikes, they will give you an Imperial uniform that you can use to like disguise yourself among the Imperials. Not very well, quite honestly. That's probably a negative that I don't like. I worked really hard to get that uniform, and it actually doesn't work very well. But so like there's different things to balance and decide what you want to do there. But if you're not in good with a syndicate, you actually can't enter their territory at all, and they might even fight you, and you'll get like ripped off by the merchants. So it's worth having, especially because a lot of missions require you to go into their territory, and if you're not on good terms with them, it adds to the amount of stealth and sneaking and whatnot you'll have to do. But that's an interesting system that I think, again, is worth it. Nothing in this game feels like it was added for the sake of building out the world and adding volume for the sake of volume. It feels like everything was added with intentionality, and the systems work together to do what they wanted them to do. And there's just like fun side stuff like Nick's. There's different restaurants in each of the worlds you go to, and you can try the local dishes with Nick's. And when you do, he'll get power-ups. So you can decide which power-up you want him to have based on the dish.
Is it temporary or permanent?
So when you get the dish, you can always, so the way it works is essentially, let's say I've gone to all 4 planets and I have all 4 dishes. I can go to my ship and I can put food out for Nyx. And whatever food I put out for him is the buff he's going to have at that time. So I want him to have a different buff, I go back to the ship and I swap out the food he has. And there's like other stuff, like there's charms that will give you those kind of buffs as well. Also, there's cosmetics for Nyx as well. So he can get like goggles and like scarves and things like that. And while you're exploring the world, I just recently got this the other day, you might find a moment where Nyx suddenly runs off on his own and has something he wants to find. And you'll have to go through kind of this parkour platforming thing for a while to find this like little thing Nyx wanted you to get. And you can use those to get stuff for him as well. So again, I think everything was just really thought of, really like added with detail and care. It's great. I am very excited to continue playing it and find where it goes.
I need a temporary number score that we can update when you're done.
Number score, guys, it's gonna probably be like, if not a 10 out of 10, like a 9.7 for me.
9.7's good. 9.7's high.
Really, I mean, you probably saw from just how I struggled to come up with any cons to the game. I love it. If maybe I could add something more, it would maybe be like more character stuff. I would love to see her have more in-depth conversations with her companions with ND5. I would love to see some more of that, but that will probably come in time when I get more cutscenes and stuff like that. That would maybe be the only thing that I would add to the game, or maybe some like more ship customization to like add something in your ship or like change the way the interior of the ship looks. I don't know, but all that is so superfluous. Like it's not really needed to make the game good. Yeah, I'm definitely, I regret buying this digitally. I was telling Blake, I want to buy a physical copy of it and have it. I think this is definitely gonna go on one of my favorite games. It's so far obviously my game of the year so far, for sure.
Interesting.
It's incredible. It's, again, I don't really have anything bad to say about it. Even like the bugs I experienced, it was like, well, that's, that just happens sometimes. It really was like a Ghost of Tsushima type game, and I gave Ghost of Tsushima basically nearly a 10 out of 10 as well. So I would say these are on par with one another. I love it, and I want everyone to play it.
I guess on that note, the question we have for, if you're here right before we go to After Party, for the chat for After Party, did you play the game? What would you rate it? Is Emily wrong completely and just delusional, or do you agree with her 100%? If you're watching on YouTube, same question. Same question on YouTube. But
also, when we go to After Party chat, feel free to ask questions about the game if you're considering buying it and you want to know more. I'm so happy to talk about it, guys. I love this game. I love this game so much. If you're thinking about buying it, if you're thinking about buying the game and you're not sure, if you're unsure if you want to spend $70, I don't think there's any issue with waiting to buy it. It's an Ubisoft game. It'll probably go on sale pretty quick. They usually do.
Yep.
So you can pick it up then. But if you're hesitating to decide whether or not it's worth it, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth every freaking penny. Again, nearly a 10 out of 10 game for me, and I don't even like Star Wars. I think if you were a Star Wars fan, because the worlds are so fun to explore and you might feel very immersed in the Star Wars world. So for someone who doesn't even like Star Wars, giving a Star Wars game 10 out of 10 nearly, I think it's
granted, when I asked her about it and I said, should I wait for it to be on sale? She said, yes, I should wait for it to be on sale.
I think I said that because, and I feel this way still about chat, $70 is a lot of money. I think if I recommended a game to you and you spent $70 to buy it, and if you just decided it wasn't for you, which I don't think you would, I think it's a really good game. You like Ghost of Tsushima, so I think you'll like this.
Yeah.
I would feel really bad. I feel really bad that you spent $70 on something I recommended to you and it was like a waste of your money. So like cautiously, I could say, yeah, wait for it to go on sale, because then if you don't like it, I'll feel less bad about the fact that you spent money on it. But I definitely, if you're asking me if I think it's worth $70 and if it's worth buying now, if you really want to play it, yes, I think so. This is not a game that I think is going to improve with time. I mean, there's going to be DLC that will be added and whatnot, but this is not like a Cyberpunk situation where it's like, oh, just wait, like they're going to patch out all the bugs and they're going to add better, or like a No Man's Sky situation where they're going to like really make big changes to how the game works and like improve and add all these quality of life stuff. Like, I think the way the game is now is kind of the way it's going to be. There might be a couple DLCs or like, I don't think this is a game that's going to get so many things added and like things patched out to improve it. I think it's going to be what it is. So,
on that note, we are going to jump to After Party, but next week, well, we're going to start playing Friday. You're going to hear about it from us next week. Astrobot, my game that I've been so excited for since they announced it earlier this year that I'm still super pumped about.
For it.
Oh my God. If it's more Astro's Playroom, that's all I need. Just give me...
That was one of my favorite PS5 games. That was good.
Yeah, and if it's more of that, I'll be happy. You'll hear from us there. I might go live this weekend playing Astrobot. You'll see. We shall see. You can find me at twitch.tv/thebeardedblake show, and if Emily feels like it, twitch.tv/EmilyJean33. I was waiting for you to say it, and you were waiting for me to say it.
Yeah, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But yeah, I'm excited for Astrobot. We'll see. I don't think guys that I'm writing right now in Star Wars, but I'm really excited to play it because I loved Astro's Playroom.
All right, this is it for the podcast section. If you if you came in late and you want to watch the whole podcast, it's going to be live on YouTube on Friday. And if you're on YouTube already, great. Everyone that's here now, after party time, cool. And if you want to be part of the after party, watch this live on YouTube and Twitch. Okay, bye everybody. Goodbye.